morning, good afternoon, good night, y'all. My name is Corinne with Soulshift Channeling, and we are going to be talking about clearing out our ears, listening more deeply, and using that as a way to step into our most aligned and embodied path to the future. We are going to have a couple of readings today as well if you want to tune into an individual reading. But if you were here last week, it came up in one of the reads that to get deer ears on, to get listening ears on. And this has just come up again and again in my life that I've been living and looking at. And it feels especially important now because there is a space and time of transition. Right now, the moment I'm recording this, which is going to be shortly before it's published, there's a new moon, and then there's a planetary lineup just astrologically. And then as far as New Year energy goes, we've got a lot of it going on. So we're going from one place to another, and it feels important to be lighthearted and intentional in this time, and to really hear clearly so that way we can read and respond to our environment effectively. Full stop. So welcome. If you are new here, my name is Corinne. Welcome. I practice channeling specifically with the Akashic Records, which is just one avenue of connection to divine source space and knowing. There are many. This is the one that works for me. I work with people one-on-one and then also in groups. If you are lucky enough to catch me either online or in person, but I do readings with folks all over to tap into their soul wisdom specifically and to act as co-navigator and as kind of a lookout. If you think of someone in like the bird's nest of a ship who can kind of see out, you're the one who is driving the ship, who's navigating your life, who is at the helm of the wheel, or at least you should be. And if you're not, that's where we want to put you. And sometimes it's helpful to have someone on lookout so you don't have to run back and forth and get the perspective that you need. It's kind of difficult to get perspective on our lives sometimes, and sometimes it can be challenging to trust those in our lives who might have vested interest. I will let you know what my vested interest is. I want us all to be the most empowered and sovereign beings that we can. I want us to be in willing control of our own energy, and I want us to ideally be interested in collaborating, co-laboring with the collective, with our environment, with each other, with the planet, to create the most heaven on earth like experience that we can while we're here. So that is my vested interest. If that sounds like the kind of support that you want when getting additional perspective and insight into your life, if you are running up against challenges and you need a helping hand, you need someone to either let you know what's going on energetically or help give you a little bit more information so you can make the adjustments and attunements that you need to, reach out, soulshiftchanneling.com. So that's how you can book with me. But let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to just slippery slide into channeled connection today. And let's start by getting clear and centered in ourselves. So it's important, if we are manifesting and we are planting seeds, we're in springtime in the Northern Hemisphere here, that we don't always have to, let's go with the garden theme of planting seeds. We don't always have to know what the final garden looks like. We often don't. Things change. We have volunteers that come up. We have seeds that may have been dormant for a while that we planted in years past that then make themselves known. But we also do a lot of planting. And it feels more important now. The message and image that I'm getting is it's less important to have like steel-handed control. And it's even not super important to have a finalized vision, as it is valuable to have your listening ears on and to have a really good rapport and connection both with the plants and the seeds that you're planting and with the environment that's holding them. We can extrapolate this to our lives. If we're trying to seed new relationships, grow friendships, shift dynamics within our family, our work environments, our service in the world, we are leaving the age of strong arming our will into beingness, into form, and we are entering a more Aquarian age of, co-labor, collaboration, of mutual benefit, mutual creation. And if you've heard that saying, like, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, a lot of our attuning that needs to happen is in using our ears and in just opening up our ears and in listening more deeply, because I have a feeling that there are a couple of things going on here for groups who are tuning in. One is that, yes, we're using our ears, but we're not hearing the information beyond what's audible. And stick with me here, because some of this is energetic. If you're familiar with this place, a lot of it is energetic. And yet we're still 3D beings. We live in a 3D planet. We exist in a 3D world, and the 3D is just an access point. It's very rich. It's not just. It's a very rich access point to a lot more that's going on behind the scenes that we are not aware of yet, or are becoming more aware of over time. So we can hear sounds with our ears, but what's coming forward is a request to hear rhythms and hear and experience patterns. And it's almost like when you're listening to music, right? And you can hear the lyrics, you can hear what the words are saying, and you can hear the beat, but your body is almost what's responding to the beat. It's not like you're sitting there usually and counting 1, 2, 3, 4 as the beat occurs. You're probably hearing and listening to and mentally engaging with the lyrics and maybe not even the deeper messaging, but usually the messaging that the music is playing and is giving to you. But what's happening beneath that is the rhythm and the beat and the movement of your body and the attunement of the water in your cells, and how that water in your cells is being energized. If you're unfamiliar with how microwaves work, I'm going to let you know, because it's so cool. But basically what happens is microwaves are a protected little box where energy is transmitted in microwaves that in a certain wavelength, right? Energy, because energy is really just a wavelength. It's how energy travels. Sound waves are energy wavelengths, right? It's just we experience it through sound. Light is an energy wavelength. We experience it visually. We can feel the energy on our skin. Plants can receive that energy that's transferred over distance, right? And microwaves it's energy that's converted from electricity to a wavelength that vibrates and resonates, matches the frequency that water moves at. And so water is in our food. It's why pizza crust doesn't heat up as fast as like pizza sauce, right? Because there's more water in the sauce and there's not as much water in the pizza crust, right? And the crust can kind of get tough because by the time it just, but basically what I do is, like, in a microwave, those water molecules become energized and start moving and getting excited and receiving energy from the microwave. And so if we go back to the music experience, when music comes into our body, it's kind of similar, and we can extrapolate this to sound too, of the beat, the rhythm, the frequency is what is attuning our bodies. right? It's what's attuning the water in our bodies, the water in all of our cells. All right, we're just going to let that land for a minute. So when we talk about listening deeper, it's less about straining to hear the highs and the lows and to count the rhythm or to count the beat. And it's really a call to our bodies, to listen not just with our ears and with our minds, but to listen with our somatic form, to listen with our bodies, to listen with our cells, to tune into the water molecules in our cells and to feel how they feel. Does this music or does this conversation make us feel joyful, embodied? Does it make us feel like we want to jump out of our skin? There's information there that we can pull into cognition, that we can pull into the mind. And this is helpful because it can help us go deeper into that somatic experience. I mean, this is going to be different for different people. For me personally, when I understand what's going on with my somatic form, it allows me to relax and then to be like, okay, cool, that's what's going on. I'm ready to go back deeper now that I understand it. Sometimes for me personally, if I am having an experience that's new to me, that's different, that's confusing, I'm not sure how I feel, perhaps my body feels unsafe, maybe it reminds me of an experience where I was unsafe, that's where, for me, I'm like, ooh, this doesn't feel good, I want to stop this. And instead of dissociating and stepping out of my body, I like to come back into my mind and be like, okay, let's put a spotlight on what's going on. Let's try and cognitively understand it so I can tell the rest of my body, like, oh yeah, you're not safe. Let's get out of here. I got you. Let's motorize and use our legs to leave. Or, oh, this is what's going on. My adult brain can process this now and inform this old patterning that was established in childhood or just lives in the collective or is impacted by my environment. I can help rewrite my own response. Not everyone's like that. Some people have a deep and attuned and embodied trust with their body. Their body always tells them, their body leads them more effectively. I personally am still learning to have trust and build confidence in the leadership of my body and to get my brain on track with my body. And I think that's where most of you guys are going to find resonance here, is like sometimes our brains are not on track with our body and we want to get the two aligned. We want to get embodied. We want to get this in the body and on the same team as the body, so that way we can work together and have similar goals, have trust, have focus, and have that kind of partnership that starts inside our own forms that we can then template outside our forms, so we can start working with other energetic bodies, because our soma, our body, is what we're listening deeply with, is what's giving us the right and proper information. It's what's giving us truth. And it's what's tapping us into reality. And when we can trust reality, that's when we can start shifting and shaping and collaborating and working with it. You know, it's not just about mentally willing anymore. It's more about dancing together. Okay, so that's the first part of listening more deeply. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, let me know if you understand. Let me know if this is resonating with you. Let me know. I would love to hear about your experiences with this. Yeah, it's just fascinating. I want to cultivate a space where we can all share, where you guys can all share your experiences and find a community of like-minded individuals who can meet each other and speak on this level, because I think this is a lot of what we experience inside, but don't always vocalize and put outside of our bodies. And yeah, if this is where we're going, technologically speaking, let's get on it. Let's have book club about it, you know? Okay, so that's the first part of hearing and listening more deeply. Let's go ahead and just let that land a little bit. The second part of listening more deeply, which comes when we kind of have that internal marriage, when we have that internal connection and integration with body and mind, and when those are working on the same page, and when the mind is taking direction from the body, or at least heeding information from the body, when the mind is supportive of the body, right? Because our minds can take information, can take direction from our body all the time, but our body can have old patterning in it that is acting out past traumas and is asking for loops to be closed. Another thing that I've experienced a lot this week and have recognized others experience is closing out of old patternings or loops. And it doesn't necessarily need to be like a closing the door, like you're never going there again, but I should say a release of old kinds of patterning and spaciousness for new patterning to come in. For example, let's try and find the best one. I've got a couple of them. I have a dear friend who has experienced improper boundaries with lovers and people who, you know, her exes coming around, crossing her boundaries, her communication boundaries, her space boundaries. And this was a pattern that happened in the past and recently came up again to be addressed. And she's in a space this time that she can set the boundary and say, no, absolutely not. And didn't repeat the same pattern of self-abandonment that happened previously, and instead stuck up for herself. And this is kind of a way of letting go of an old pattern of abandoning self when boundaries are crossed, and making space to wiggle and jive through what a new pattern might look like, right? Which in this case was a restraining order and actions that she took with people around her to say, hey, this is going on, and getting myself and other people on the same page of like, okay, yeah, I will also help hold that boundary because that's not okay. So let's all collectively come together to set and establish this boundary. And although we don't know what the evolution looks like in the future, I have a habit and pattern of belief that this is bringing in opportunity for her to experience what that held boundary looks like with the support of other people holding that boundary. And then that new template can be internalized into her body. And so when that boundary is challenged, if that boundary is challenged by a lover in the future, it's just not even an energetic match. Number one, it doesn't happen because her vibrational frequency is not inviting that threshold to be danced upon. But it's just like sidestep completely. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if these examples are grounded enough or not, because I'm always looking to make it better. But yeah, this is an example, and I've seen other ones at work recently too, where old patterns of behavior are being let go. There's less attachment, there's less emotional intensity around that, and there's more opportunity for new patterns to be written. And again, it doesn't have to look like this grand vision of like, I know exactly what it looks like. I mean, maybe you do, but I'm here to say, like, you don't have to. You just have to be willing to let go of the old patterning that's not serving you. And so a second part of listening deeper is just observation, is like what we were talking about before, of the brain looking at the emotional and the somatic experience. That observation, especially if it can be done without judgment, is part of what loosens the grip of old traumas, of old behaviors and old patterns on your physical form. And if those reactions are less tight, we have more time to think and examine, to contemplate, and to make an active choice to respond instead of react. So this listening deeper is really a multiple step process of understanding the experience with yourself, lengthening the amount of time before you go ahead and respond. And basically what this is doing is it's allowing not only your body and yourself to make a different choice, but it is giving the other person or the environment or the community that you're interfacing with spaciousness as well, and a different input to then also respond to. So instead of having the same back and forth that you and your partner have, or you and your boss have, or you and your environment have, you're breaking that pattern, and you are giving someone else the opportunity to also step out of the pattern as well, to meet you in a new place. And who knows, maybe then they'll start breaking the pattern elsewhere in their life, or they ideally become a co-creator in establishing a new, healthier, more enjoyable heaven on earth experience of patterning on the planet. Okay. Thanks for coming to our intro. Glad we're talking about this today. I want every week to be able to touch on a different topic that affects us all, that can ideally help evolution, can help evolve an individual, a collective, a community, to be more responsive, to be more in tune with each of our individual selves, and to be more invested in the co-creative process, and to be lined up with a process that really truly does feel good to the self. One thing that I know from my experience with hypnosis, both as a practitioner and as a student and as someone who is experiencing a lot of hypnosis, is that our subconscious minds and our bodies, our subconscious minds, I should say, and our divine soul selves, because I do believe that in that subconscious space, our soul is fully present, even if covered up by old patterning and beliefs, that when given a fork in the road, subconsciously, if we're in like active subconscious exploration, it's easeful to see and feel and exercise and take action on the path that is more aligned, more embodied, better for self, better for other. And what's better for self is also what's better for other, is also what's better for community. So if we allow ourselves to kind of tap into our subconscious form, where our triggers lie and patterning lies, if we can come to that space consciously, we can peel back so many layers of what keeps us trapped, hurt, stuck, and separated from ourselves and each other, and really just like get all that gunk off, get all the rust out, get all this stuff out, so really underneath we can come back to what I believe is our true form, our soul expression on this planet. And I believe when we come back to our soul expression, when we all come into our full solar expression, that it is heaven, that is unity consciousness, but in individual divine expression. And that's when we all have our individuality. You know, we're not going back to singularity where we're all one. We still have the individual expression of a bunch of different selves, but we are divinely led, divinely embodied, and divinely acting to create and co-create with each other. And that's a planet I want to live on. I don't know about you guys. So welcome to that. Let's go ahead and, so yeah, that's what our series is going to continue to explore, is how we peel back the layers, how we become more authentically ourselves, and how we put down the traumas and the burdens and the stuff that our lineages have been carrying, that we've been picking up for other people. How can we just put them down, find resolution, and transform them so we can, you know, turn the compost into potting soil. So that's what we'll be doing in the weeks to come. I hope you'll join me. Let me know how you like it. And let's go ahead and tune into 3 different readings we're going to do today. 3 different readings. Group 1, Group 2, Group 3. Group 1 is a basketball today. We're going to represent that with the basketball emoji. Second one is a baseball emoji. Maybe, yeah, baseball emoji. Third one is a softball emoji. Softballs, I think, are usually yellow. They're a little bit larger, stitched like a baseball. A soccer ball gets like a bonus mention here because that feels important and valuable. So go ahead and tune into groups 1, group 2, or group 3. Group 1, basketball. Group 2, baseball. Group 3, softball. Previously, I've done additional information to kind of help you vibe into and feel into each of those different groups that we have. Let me know if this is something that you like. I'm just going to keep following the instructions each week to see if we need more information to tune into groups or not. But I would be curious, and I would love to know, how much information do you like when using your intuition to choose a message that's important for you to hear? Okay, y'all. So go ahead, get that question, or get yourself centered. If you don't have a question, get yourself centered and embodied. Tune into that group. If you do have a question, bring it forward and ask which group is going to answer that for whatever, if you have more than one question, whatever you're working with. So let's go ahead and jump right into group 1. All right, group 1. All right. So a couple of different things about a basketball. It is a single piece of rubber, but it is made up of many different little raised bumps. And then beyond that, it's sectioned off into, I'm pretty sure, 8 different like patches. I'm hearing that these patches are non-repeatable. Like, they are the same shape. It's all, I think, just one different shape, either inverted different ways, or you could say 2 if you don't want to flip it over. But it's just one shape repeated 8 different times. But the combo of the shape and the texture, like the little raised bumps, makes it non-repeatable. This metaphor is applying to multiple lives you've carried. For some people, this is like lives that you've lived within this one life that you're carrying and living right now. For those of you that it's about multiple lifetimes, we'll get to that. Just stick with me here. I feel like you've exercised your ability to live and to experience life in a couple of different forms. It almost feels like a patchwork of evolution. Like I'm seeing yourself living in one place, having a certain job, having a certain social life or experience of friendship or hobbies and stuff like that. And then I see you, it's almost like you're moving to a different place or you have a different job. And it's like all these things, it's almost like a totally different experience. Like, yes, you have hobbies. Yes, you have friends. Yes, you have a job. Yes, you have free time. Yes, you have a home. But every time you have all those things, it's slightly different. The point of bringing this up is because I have a feeling that the way that you look at the different chapters of your life or the different eras of your life, they seem non-related. They seem so vastly different from one another. It feels almost disorienting how far apart they seem. And I feel like you are getting to the point where you have lived enough of these different, seemingly separate experiences that you can see the similarity, see how the shape of your living is the same. It was just in different locations with different friend groups, with different creative projects, with different hobbies. You know what I mean? With different jobs. It wasn't the exact same, but I feel like you can see how all of those different parts of your life work together. And then, and so I'm seeing like each of those chapters of life being that one shape on a basketball, like that's part of a basketball going together. And you know how it has the raised bumps, right? It almost, now I'm seeing someone like read it like Braille. And this is where we're going to get like a little heady and extraterrestrial. And I'm feeling your guides. For some of you, it's guides. For other people, it's like higher self, higher soul self. Which we'll get into that part with the multiple lives thing in a second. I'm seeing your guides like reading the way that you experienced all these things. It's like, so you know how the different like patch shapes of the basketball have all those little bumps on it, and because those bumps are in different positions on each of those patches, it's not like the exact same piece. It can look like the same shape, which is the benefit of what they want you to see, is like all these different chapters of your life that seem unrelated. You can really find a pattern. You can find a pattern in it, and that pattern should be comforting, because I have a feeling that you felt very disjointed, right? But all the nuances and all the differences, and more than that, talking about the microwave before, the emotional response, right? The different ways that your soma, that your body, that the water molecules in your body have been energized through these different life experiences that you've had in each of these different chapters. I feel like your guides are kind of reading what that is. And this feels like part of the, not barrier, but the degree of separation that guides have from our physical forms. Because we have some degree of separation, the strongest link that we have with our guides is through our emotional experience at this point in time. It's energetic, but our closest link to our guides is through emotional happenings, because that's where we have the easiest and most effective time tuning into our energy, getting our cognition aware of our energetic connections is through our emotions. So all this to be said is, it's almost like, okay, and so for the folks who it's about multiple lives, basically these chapters of your lives that we've been talking about, extrapolate that to multiple lives that you've lived. If you are a reincarnation baby and you believe in reincarnation and one soul living multiple lives either at once or back to back to back, or a combination of two, that's what each of these chapters of your life has been. It's like these different, totally different biological lives that have been lived. That I see your guides now kind of like reading the patterning, getting the information off of like, okay, this is what's important, this is what's not, this is what hit him or her this way, and getting that kind of emotional and energetic feedback. And I'm seeing them doing this and reading this as they're trying to put together a cohesive experience for you and kind of patch together or formulate the construction of this basketball, which is your brilliance and resilience, is this basketball coming into form. And I'm seeing or becoming aware of this idea of choosing the 8 best panels that complement each other, or not even that complement each other, but that are like a particular or kind of like a tight data match that mesh well together, that complement one another. Because I feel like it's almost the creation of this like all-star team, of this all-star, like this basketball is one of a kind. And it's kind of like an all-star basketball team, or like an Olympic basketball team. The players are going to come from different teams. They might not have played together before, but they're all basketball players, right? And you cherry pick all these people who you think are going to work well together, who have great skill, who have skills that complement one another, and ideally who mesh well to create an ephemeral, like a temporary, super awesome team experience. And I feel like this is where you're at in life. I'm not exactly sure how this works, but it feels like your guides are cherry picking or kind of putting together a singular experience composed of different chapters of your life or different lives that you've lived, and kind of putting them all together so that way you can create one cohesive, well-informed experience of life. This is going to be the next lifetime for some of you. This is going to be this lifetime for others and most. And it's really a reminder to, again, detach from one particular experience, to detach from one particular process or patterning. Because this next iteration that you're going into, if we're talking about sowing seeds and co-creating with the universe and receiving information and guidance and a cherry-picked experience from your guides, you have to let it go. You have to let go your attachment to a certain job, location, relationship. You got to let it go. And I'm not saying that it's gone forever. I'm just asking, they're asking for you to have the capacity to travel with it, right? And this is going back to basketball. People don't play basketball just holding the ball in their hands. It's not like they are walking down the court, that's illegal. You can't. You have to bounce it to go. You have to let it go time and time and time again to travel. I guess they call it, when they say traveling in basketball, it means that you're not letting go of it enough. Like the ball's not getting dribbled enough, right? So to go from point A to point B, or to evolve or to play the game, right? In order to play the game of life right now, it's about letting go again and again and again and again. letting go of your experience again and again and again and again, and receiving that experience. Like, you let it go and it comes back, and it's supposed to come back because you're gonna have repartee, like you're gonna have rapport with people, you're going to live life, and you're going to pass energy back and forth to each other. It's just how it goes. And the message from the beginning of listening deeper can be applied here is to feeling deeper. There's an urge and a call for you to feel deeper. When you let go of experience and then receive it back, right? That dribble that's happening, you send it out and then you receive it. And it's almost like your hands have this extra sensory perception to be able to read the braille, to like read the bumps on whatever side of the basketball is touching your hand. And it's less about cognition and more about somatic experience. It's less about your individual response, and it's more about your higher self and your guides stepping into your body and your form to use that to allow to channel that wisdom. And this is something that came up at the beginning but didn't come through, so I just had to wait for you. This group in particular, it's about clearing out your form to allow more space for beingness to come in, to allow more space for your higher self to get to the table. Not your ego, not even your soul has personality. Our souls have personality intrinsic to them that usually shine through in us at certain times. But there feels like a difference between biological personality, earth personality, and soul self personality. And we want biological personality to take a step back a little bit more so soul self personality can come in and have more space to roam and play, because that is really what the goal of the game is to ideally eventually have our bodies be able to hold our whole souls, and have our bodies be able to, at every point in life, at any point in life, have the wisdom of our past and our future here at play now. Okay, y'all. Thank you for showing up. Let me know how this lands and how it is coming through in your life. Wishing you all the best on this journey, and check in at the end for a closing message. Okay. Group two, hi. All right, group two. You guys are the baseball. I'm hearing hard and fast, and seeing like the cross section or dissection of a baseball. And I feel like I don't know why, I feel like there's either pink string or pink rubber in it. And this concept of like baseballs for men, baseballs, like you gotta be tough, like it's not softball. We don't, not that softball is not tough. It is pretty hardcore, but the pitching style is different. And with baseball, the overhand pitch, it's like very direct, very assertive, very more masculine dominated. And I think it's funny because we have this gendered association of pink being very feminine. And I just think it's funny that in the root of, I don't know if it's all baseballs, I'd be curious to see, or at least this baseball that I'm seeing, the root of it is pink. Because I think it's like rubber or something hard, and then there's a lot of string wrapped around it. I'm not sure exactly. I'll have to look it up. Maybe I'll link it here or something. But at the core, the feminine is present. I'm seeing a lot of gender expression for you lately. a lot of examination. I feel like you're trying to separate masculine and feminine right now, and it's just, that's not the way it's done. It's a both and. It's a spectrum. Like, they're showing me a gradient, like a slider. It's just important for you to remember and be reminded that you're neither here nor there. You're not one or the other. It's an integration of both. And even if you have a super masculine presentation or expression, that only is able to exist because there is a feminine core. Because intrinsically, a masculine expression is only possible because of feminine support, right? Because of feminine, like, because a woman birthed you, because a woman supports you, because you had tenderness growing up. That's the only way that you can have hard presence and boundaries, right? It's like, and vice versa. If you have a really feminine expression, the only way that you came into the world is with a sperm, is with a seed that came into the egg that formed you. And having a firm structure, like, the only way that you can be gracious and giving and loving and nurturing as a woman, or as in a moment of feminine expression, is because you have masculine rigidity and structure to operate from. You literally cannot have one without the other. It's not the way that it goes. Not happening. And then I'm seeing someone take apart this baseball, right? And separate it out by parts. Like, the outside stitches are in one space. The leather, that's the skin of it, is in another space. The string is still in another space, but still, and then the core is something different. And this something different feels important to say, that it's like, it's the divine right in each of us, in all of us. I feel like some people in this group have forgotten that they are divine beings, that they have divine connection, and that the true seed and root of who you are is God. And it doesn't have to be big R religion God. It doesn't have to be Christian God. It doesn't have to be any sort of particular expression of God. The expression that we're asking you to recognize is universal consciousness, is the start of all life, is Big Bang seed form matter. And it can be Christian God. It can be Hindu gods. It can be, I mean, it's expression of, basically, God is expression of creator will, of creator drive, and of an attachment to source, to beginningness, to beingness, that I think sometimes you can forget that you have attachment to, that you feel like you're this separate, like this lost lamb, like cut off from the herd. And it's silly, because you literally cannot have a baseball without the center. It does not exist. It would be lumpy and lopsided. It wouldn't have the proper skeleton structure form underneath. And we get confused here because I'm hearing like the Adam Eve rib, and this concept of the masculine providing the structure for the feminine to act out from. And we love that. And yes, it is an echo of what the divine does for all of us, but we cannot confuse. We don't confuse the two. It's almost like an evolution, right? It's like if God is the core, no matter what way you slice it, the masculine comes from the feminine, or the masculine has the feminine, and the feminine surrounds the masculine. And at the root of it all is divine source will. And so all of this to be said is the importance of connecting not only with structure or with fluidity, not only connecting with the masculine or with the feminine in order to exist in your feminine or your masculine, but to make sure that you're stitching all the way down to the core and you're touching base with the divine, with divine whisperings And I almost want to say divine will, but it's not that, because of the fluidity. Will feels like truth only at one point in time, whereas divinity is constantly, there's evolution. Our experience, at least, of divine will is one of evolution, because we all can exert our wills. And so as long as we're exerting our wills and our wills are shifting and changing and interacting, divinity responds, right? If we look at the long game, the long form, divine will is static and stable and true, that there is a life to be enjoyed by all. And I personally don't know exactly what that looks like, but we're finding our way to it. We're getting little pieces. And as we try and get those pieces, as we try and build our way towards heaven on earth, as we try and build our way towards equanimity and equality and a beautiful expression and experience of life for all beings and creatures, human, plant, animal, otherwise, divine will, divine whisperings, divine instruction is beneath it all. So if we go back to the very beginning, where we're talking about planting seeds, where we're talking about co-creation in due process, and the whole experience of co-creating, of creating, it's so much more effective and efficient and delightful when we are connected to divinity underneath it all. When we are taking our urges not from the masculine, not from the feminine, because those two will seek each other quite often, but from godliness, but from creatorship. If we connect to that, it helps root the arrow of our trajectory, right? It helps provide anchor. It's a start point. It's the center spot from which we move from which we go out into the world. And so I'm seeing like that's the very center, and then you've got an arrow that pierces both the masculine and the feminine and goes beyond that. You gotta shish kebab them all, and the very end of it, the root, the start, the origin is God and divine will. So what I'm hearing for this group is the capacity and ability to sit in meditation, to go find that seed every morning, to go find that, and seed is maybe not the right word, to go, all right, so if you do have a seed, to go find the DNA, to go find the instructions, the instruction manual, the genetic code, the zeros and ones that dictate the map, that dictates how that seed grows, what it turns into. Is it going to turn into a geranium or a petunia or a tulip or a daffodil? We don't know. We got to go to the genetic code, all the little building blocks. I think it's the mitochondria that I need to look this up. I need to trust, and I'll look this up later, but the mitochondria gets the information out there, like I feel like it's like the factory builders, like the factory buildings of the cell, and it will not know what to do if it doesn't have the blueprint, right? Otherwise it's maybe building things for no reason at all, and it might not even be useful, and we have to put information into the computer in order to have an output from the computer, right? We have to put hopes, dreams, wishes, and desires into our hearts, so that way we know what actions to take and what to do. And if we are not sitting with the hopes and the dreams and the wishes in our hearts, if we are not getting still and getting quiet enough to hear what it is that our heart truly desires, that's like the DNA code of our soul expression, right? That's the divine in our soul expression. Then how are we going to know if what we're doing and what we're building and what we're working towards is even important or meant to become or valuable? Like, we could be spinning our wheels if we're taking instructions from outside of our body, if we're taking instructions from other people's DNA codes. We have to go inside and get the information from our DNA codes, from our connection to source. A baseball is going to build around its divine source, not around another one, because then you'll get this weird lumpy looking baseball. It's not going to be right. It's going to turn into like a saw. It's not going to be right. If we build ourselves around another person and then their experience of God, you no longer have a regulation playing size baseball. It's in a whole other different league. And I guess we're going to talk about that in the softball group. All right, y'all. Nothing else for this group today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming. Check into the collective message at the end. And I'll see you next week, every Wednesday. All right. Group three. Okay, guys. Softball group. You may want to go back and listen to the baseball group because softball stuff started coming through in the end. It talked about gender expression, masculine and feminine, the value and importance that God is at the root of all of it, and that there is masculine and feminine and the masculine, whether you're talking about sex or gender, all of the above. Yep. Okay, so let's tune into this group and see what we're feeling for the softball experience. All right, we're going to stick on the gender train a little bit because I am feeling like it's I think A League of Their Own was a baseball team. Or the team in the story that A League of Their Own is based off of was a baseball team, not positive. The importance of softball is that it was primarily and originally established as a safe haven for women to experience their version of the sport of baseball in a place that could not immediately become dominated by men. I'm feeling like you're building or creating a world that needs to be protected from previous habit and patterning that can easily get overrun with the will of others, or what I'm hearing is control and fear. Masculine presence is, I hear, informed completely by the drive of fear and protection. I don't have experience as a man, so I don't know what this is like. Guys, chime in. And this is masculine presence. We don't have to have. This can be gender expression as well, but I'm hearing masculine presence is informed by protection and fear, and the fear of, protection. There is something that you're building right now that cannot come into form, cannot exist in its own shape if it's being birthed and built and brought into the world in a space where fear and protection need to exist. The genetic code that you're creating, that you're bringing out into the world right now, is one to be used in a world that doesn't experience a need for protection or doesn't experience limitation by fear. What you're getting into the world right now, what you're working on, what you're expressing, what you're building, and it feels less like building and more like decoding, because it's going back to the beginning when we're talking about co-creation and listening deeply, I feel like you are in process. You're listening deeply, and you are getting to the point where your instruction manual with self is clear enough that you can now start taking instructions from the instruction manuals of others, and you're experiencing energetic collaboration. And the fine-tune and attunement that you're experiencing is one that's making something that we don't need yet. You're in the future. You're creating things to have ready for the future, where we don't live in fear, where we don't live in limitation, where we don't live in lack, and where we don't live in separated understanding. And just because it's not of use, just because it can't be implemented right now, doesn't mean you shouldn't be spending your time on this. It's so important. And I also just want you to know this and be aware, because whatever you're birthing and bringing forward, you just shouldn't have the mindset of like, well, where does it plug in? Where does it go? Not your job, not your problem. You're downloading something that's going to have future use, so it's not going to make sense now. Continue to do what you do. Give yourself space to do it. And I'm also seeing a lot of like ritual work, or a lot of space setting or space securing, a lot of I feel like you require a super safe place or a super particular presence to be able to drop in the way that you are to receive the information. Like I'm seeing a friend right now who cultivates a very particular vibe and a very particular experience because of the work that she does. And we can extrapolate this further. It's like, let's say you have a home office, right? You're going to make sure that the door is closed, that if you've got kids, they're outside playing or whatever. If before you take business calls, you kind of batten down the hatches. You set perimeters and boundaries so that way you can fully put your attention and focus on what's in front of you, as opposed to getting interrupted, or risk having your work mussed up, like by external influence, right? If you're working with stem cells, if you're working with really important things, you're going to make sure you have a clean, sanitary, you're going to have a lab environment, right? If you're doing surgery on a person, you're going to scrub in, scrub out, right? So you've got this place locked down from certain outside influences, right? Because you're not ideally going to be doing surgery and then your kids come in and they're like, I need a sandwich. Like, that's not what happens, right? Because because the stuff is so serious, because it's important, not that sandwiches aren't, right? But it's a different time and it's a different place. And that's the point of this, is of what you're working on right now is for use in a different time and a different place. So it's not all going to make sense, but I have a feeling that you know how important that it is. And maybe you don't know, but you feel from the very beginning, you feel it in your body as opposed to hear it in your mind. And for this group, it just feels like the importance is not bringing the mind into the body, but opening the body to free the mind, opening the body so that way the mind can just be enveloped in it. Because I feel like you do have pretty strong somatic practice and somatic experience, knowledge, trust. And I feel like you have this because you've kind of locked your brain out before. You've kind of put it on the outside of that operating studio or that protected space. And I do think now is the time that you can allow your brain to see what's going on. You don't have to have this separation. You don't have to invite it in, and it is also not in charge, right? But this is where you can cut a window into the somatic experience that you're having and allow it to observe, allow it to see what's going on, because I have a feeling that your brain is going to be your biggest advocate. And now I'm seeing like some Grey's Anatomy scene or something of the sort where it's like people are in an operating studio. There's a gallery above where people are teaching or something. There's a window, and like the chairperson or the president of the hospital, who's not a doctor, is coming in, can see and can observe what's happening, sees so much value in it, and now is able to go to bat for funding, for more space, for more team members, for matching jackets. I don't care. This person is like, okay, I'm going to go to bat for you. I'm going to, and this is your brain, but this also could literally be another person. Allowing other people into your process or allowing people to witness your experience is going to help them work for you. And you probably won't be doing the same things. Just like brain and body don't do the same tasks, right? But when brain is able to support body and be on board with body, when your partner can see what you're doing and understand the value and have an appreciation for what you contribute, they're like, yeah, boo, like you do you, let me take care of this stuff. It's time to build a window. It's time to allow a window. And I recognize this brings up some fear of being seen and being perceived. And I'm here to tell you that that is when you invite your brain into your nervous system to have a dialogue, because your brain can have conversations with your nervous system that are a lot more informed and involved than what they have been in the past. When you're stretching yourself in this way, being seen, being heard, being understood, being followed, being supported, being led through deeper layers of your vision, it's important that you know how to show up for yourself and that you sit with yourself through that kind of activating part of the experience. If that comes up for you, it doesn't have to be activating, but if activation occurs, to sit with yourself through that process. That is your job. That and the surgery is your job, not securing funding, not any of that other stuff. All right, if you need further information as to how exactly this tunes into your life, feel free to, I don't know why I just said comment below, but perhaps we'll have channeled information come through for people in particular. And then if you really want to go into a deep dive, book a session and we can really closely examine and have a dialogue about what's going on in your life. Okay, group 3, thank you so much. As we wrap up all together, welcome back. This will be our closing dialogue, our closing ceremony. Previously, I have had more boundaried, clear thresholds in and out of channeled space. I'm growing as a channeler and as a practitioner right now. So bear with me as we step our way out. But the last thing I see is stepping out of holy waters. And I live in North Florida, where there are natural springs where water comes out of the earth, and it's very, very cold. Where that happens, the water is clean and clear and just bubbles up, and there's this one particular spot that has limestone. They're beautiful, these beautiful limestone steps that come out of the water, and it looks, the space itself, the portal itself is like primordial. It looks like from the beginning of time, or from a very, very early time, like where mammoths were on the planet and people, were there. I don't know if that happened at the same time. Also, I don't know if mammoths would be in this space of Florida. Anyway, either way, I see these steps coming out of the waters, and it just feels important. When you get out of the water and it's a sunny day and you don't towel yourself off, but you just allow yourself to drip dry or to just walk into the world, that's the invitation for you now of when you come into these portal spaces, portal experiences, when you come into and out of channeling weather, whether that's you going to see a musician perform, because they are often either live channeling or playing off of previously practiced channeled experiences. When you come into contact with a channeled experience, to allow yourself to just kind of air dry in the world. And maybe this is for me more than anyone else, but we'll just say it just in case. If you also practice channeling, to allow that transition to be lengthened. This also, I'm finding similarity in going into and out of meditation and going into and out of hypnosis, to kind of lengthen those entrance and exit points, allows that energetic flow allows the patterning of that energetic flow to bleed into your environment and your daily life. And again, this is something that can only be of benefit because the scales have tipped. Like, I think previously we used to have to be worried of like keeping the boundaries clean, but it's like we were talking about earlier, of like within hypnosis and within the subconscious mind, if you've got an option that is correct and an option that's not it, there's only one way to go. You cannot go down an unworthy path in subconscious hypnotic state. It's a no-go. The body doesn't do it. It's like a one-way valve. You can't go the wrong way through a one-way valve. The blood only pumps one way through your heart, right? You can't go, the doors don't swing both ways, right? So just, a reminder to feel free from fear, to recognize that within divine flow and within channeled form and content, the flow is so strong that you don't have to risk backflow of contamination. And the third thing I hear is just have fun with it. So I hope you get to do some channeled content in the weeks and weekend to come. Paint, draw, sing, dance, move your body, and tap into the rhythm. Do it right now. Why not? Anyway, much love. I will see you next Wednesday. Thank you for being here. Bye.